1. Short horror story, The Mysterious Finger. The Mysterious Finger is one of the more intriguing tales. The story goes like this. Last night, my daughter attended the birthday party of a classmate and returned home quite late, around 11:50 p.m. As we welcomed her back, we put her straight to bed since it was already late. After that, my wife went asleep, while I stayed up watching football in the living room before dozing off. In a hazy dream, I heard my daughter whispering my name, Dad, while tugging at my shirt sleeve. I woke up and she asked, Dad, guess how old I'll be next month? I don't know, I replied, trying to wake up fully. Suddenly, she pulled out 4 human fingers from her pocket and showed them to me. 8 hours have passed, and now it's 7:30 in the morning. My daughter still hasn't told my wife and me where she got those 4 fingers from. 2. Short horror story, Night Stroll. A middle-aged man was walking home after a night of revelry. He was slightly drunk, stumbling along the deserted road, singing loudly. Suddenly, he noticed a little girl playing with dirt by the roadside. So he approached her and asked, What are you doing sitting out here so late at night? The girl looked up at him, her eyes deep and dark, her mouth forming a perplexing smile. I'm digging a grave to bury my father, she replied. He caused my mother to miscarry and then abandoned us. Now he's finally dead. 3. True short horror story, Halloween decoration. During Halloween in 2005 in Delaware, USA, a woman was found hanging from a tree by her neck. Despite the terrifying scene, passers-by paid no attention and no one called the police. It took several hours for the police to arrive, only to discover that the woman had committed suicide. Those living nearby believe that it wasn't a real human body but a Halloween decoration. 4. Short horror story, Whose Money Is That? A young couple strolled down the street hand in hand. Whose money is that? The girl asked. Her boyfriend picked it up and examined it carefully. It was a counterfeit dollar bill. He tossed it away, and the wind carried the bill into the middle of the road. Another young couple was walking along when the girl spotted a bill lying by the roadside. Her boyfriend picked it up, only to realize it was a counterfeit dollar. He threw it away, and the bill was swept into the street by the wind. The girl hurried to retrieve it, saying, Why did you throw it away? It's real money. As she picked up the bill, she laughed and said to her boyfriend, See, I told you it was real money. Suddenly, a truck came speeding by, and the girl tragically lost her life, still clutching the blood-stained counterfeit bill in her hand. 5. Short horror story with explanation, late-night hitchhiking. In the dead of night, I stood alone on the street, trying to flag down a taxi to get home. Seeing a taxi approaching from afar, I waved my hand to hail it. The taxi stopped right in front of me, and the driver rolled down the window, asking, Where are the 3 of you headed? Upon hearing this, I was horrified, quickly opened the door, and hastily climbed in. Once settled, I urged the driver to hurry, offering to pay double. He complied, hastily accelerating the car. After a while, I began to calm down. However, to my horror, the driver suddenly turned the car around 180 degrees, grinning as he asked me, Where are you going now? 6. Compilation of short scary stories, Noodle Soup by the Roadside. My wife had just given birth to our baby, and it had been over a month. We moved to the outskirts, where the air was fresh and it was serene. We bought many things for the baby and even installed cameras to monitor him. Every movement of the baby was recorded, so my wife and I were always there whenever he cried. One day, I was sitting in the room reading a book while the camera showed my wife singing to our sleeping baby. The baby drifted into a peaceful sleep to the sound of his mother's lullaby. At that moment, I happened to glance up and saw my wife carrying the baby in from outside. 7. Short spooky story, Purchasing a Haunted House. My son is almost a year old now, and he's starting to babble. At home, he often points at things and names them. One day, while my son and I were looking at a picture book, he pointed to a drawing and said, Dog. I looked over, and indeed, it was a picture of a dog. One day, while my son and I were playing in the living room, he suddenly stopped and pointed behind me, saying loudly, Person 8. Extremely short, scary story. A family was joyously celebrating their child's birthday. They used a camera to record the entire party. The child was happily jumping up and down on the bed, but suddenly, he accidentally fell to the ground and died. The grieving parents couldn't stop mourning. After the child's funeral, they watched the footage from the party, only to discover a hand pushing the child down and then retracting. 9. Creepy short ghost story. One day, while I was napping in my room, I heard someone knocking on the door. Startled awake, I called out, "Who's there?" but heard no response, so I got up to open the door, but found no one. At first, I thought it might have been my mother calling, but then I remembered that she had left earlier. I cautiously checked every nook and cranny of the house but found no one. Finally, I was left wondering who had knocked on my door. I went downstairs to get some water to calm my nerves. Afterward, as I thought more about it, I found it increasingly puzzling. I went upstairs and stood outside my bedroom door, hesitantly knocking. Then, I heard a voice from inside the room ask, "Who's there?" The voice sounded just like mine. 10. Short Chinese horror story, The Body Locator. Little Bao is an ordinary 11th grade student with no remarkable abilities. One day, he and a classmate were cleaning up the park as part of a community service project. While cleaning, Little Bao suddenly had a feeling that there was a dead body behind the rockery in the park. Little Bao quickly reported it, and following his guidance, the police found the body of a man. It turned out to be the owner of the park construction project. At this moment, Little Bao realized he had a special ability. He could sense the location of dead bodies. After graduating from university, Little Bao used this ability to become a body locator. 11. File of Mysteries. The File of Mysteries is another famous horror story in China. Lam Kai is a humanitarian in charge of the government's relocation and resettlement efforts. While trying to persuade residents of an old residential complex to move, Lam Kai encounters trouble with the investigation department of strange phenomena. He needs to find the contact information of those working there to discuss the relocation, but there are no leads. Later, he learns that the people there are pursuing inexplicable paranormal phenomena. The more he interacts with them, the more chaotic Lam Kai's life becomes, with the appearance of mysterious files, terrifying audio recordings, and blurry videos.